Point of View is sponsored by First National Bank. First National Bank. How can we help you?
Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television. Here on The Point of View, we get the right guests, ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. It's an interactive show. If you're watching on television, please send us your comments on the WhatsApp number on the screen. If you're watching on social media, feel free to comment in the stream. Don't forget, The Point of View is brought to you by First National Bank. First National Bank, how can we help you? We're going back to the economy, and the budget was read a few days ago. My guest is the proponent of a brand of economics called Adongonomics. We have Techonomics, we have Baonomics, and we have Adongonomics. Tonight, we'll find out from Honorable Adongo why the minority voted against the 2021 budget and why they feel strongly that this is not the kind of budget we need at this time. Stay with us.
It is. See for yourself.
Okay, so it's a photo.
Look closer. Photos within photos.
What about video?
8K video. Beyond cinema quality.
So...
You can pull portrait quality photos straight from video.
But will it last the whole trip?
Battery for the whole trip and the way back.
This is different.
Told you.
Welcome back to The Point of View. So the budget for the very first time was read by the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. Usually the Finance Minister reads the budget. On 12th March, Parliamentary Affairs and Majority Leader Osechi Mensah-Musu read the budget over 2.5 hours of a reading. Parliament subsequently debated the budget. It was a very heated debate. And at the end of the day, there was a voice vote. Now, the voice vote didn't leave the Speaker any wiser. So he said they had to go for a count. After the count, the majority got 137 votes exactly. The minority got 134. That means 3 of their members did not vote. And of course, there was the Speaker who was one of them. Honorable Adongo was one of those who debated against the budget. He's joined us to explain to us why the minority felt that this budget should not be approved. You were very close to disapproving this budget. That would have been quite unprecedented in our Fourth Republic. Welcome to the show. Good evening.
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers.
Anyway, congrats. I think you won your election. Yes. And you are also the Deputy Ranking Member on Finance.
Yes, please.
So that's a very important committee in Parliament. Yeah. So just explain, is it a Finance Committee that recommends before the whole House accepts the budget, or how does it work with the budget?
Okay, so the budget is approved in 3 phases. The first phase of the budget is the policy and the principles that underpins the budget.
Okay.
So the government has certain intentions, and the government has certain policies that it thinks when it implements, it would be able to achieve the objectives of the budget. So the first phase is to debate the policy and the principles underpinning. That is not the budget. Okay. That is just the principles and the policies that the government is running. So government says, I want to do 100 billion, what do you call it, CARES program. I want to do the second phase of roads, the second year of roads. I want to introduce certain taxes based on certain principles. Do you agree? So those are just the policies, and it was the policies are debated in plenary within the floor of Parliament by all members that are willing and have been admitted to debate. After that, we need to put the policy to a vote. There are several issues that we identify in the policy that we all disagree. In some instances, the executive agrees with us, but they would not correct that until maybe after the approval. They may go and on the hindsight say that, look, we think this makes sense. We could improve on this policy. We could improve on that policy. So what we voted against was the policy. Now, after the policy has been approved, then the estimates that would give the allocations of funds to the ministry, department or agencies in order for them to be able to have the financial resources to implement the policy is what then is approved at committee. So the sector committees, which we call the select committees, and in some instances, the standing committees, then look at the estimates. What is it that the government thinks if it gives to the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Roads, the Ministry of Works and Housing, would enable them translate the policy into concrete actions.
Okay.
So those ones are debated at the level of the committees, and reports are submitted to the plenary for further debate on the estimates and the programs of the ministry, department, and agencies, and approved or disapproved. So that is the second phase.
So there's a statement of policy, and there's the estimate.
There is the estimate. Then there is the appropriations.
Fantastic.
The appropriations is basically now converting all these estimates and allocations to the ministries into a law, so that agencies, ministry, department, and agencies are bound by their expenditures approvals as in law. So an appropriations bill is brought, which then itemizes all of them. In fact, there are some expenditure items that don't come under any ministry at all. We call them other government obligations. Those have to be considered separately. And then you bring together all the estimates for the various agencies, including the revenue measures. Some of the revenue measures will require that Parliament actually passes a law or amend existing law to empower government to go and collect those monies. Otherwise, government on its own doesn't have the power to go and collect them. So in some instances, if the tax measures or the revenue measures are new, then a new bill will be brought to Parliament for us to debate and pass a law that allows government. So
what you voted and lost was the
policy.
The policy.
In fact,
once that had been passed, you had.
In fact, the one that the government should fear most is not the policy, it's the appropriations.
Are you going to vote on that too?
If the appropriations is rejected, then it means that government has not been allowed to allocate any funding at all.
So is it possible for you to approve the policy but reject the appropriation?
Exactly.
So the appropriation that you are debating this week, that you are putting together this week, I'm told by 30th.
Yeah, in fact, the estimates of the various agencies, ministries, and departments could also be rejected.
Wow.
So are you getting the point? Depending on whatever serious issues you have with them. In fact, the revenue measures themselves can be rejected. So it is possible that the bill that would impose the COVID tax could be rejected. It is possible that the amendment to the VAT Act that would impose additional taxes on VAT could be rejected. It is possible that the amendments that have to be made to the ESLA,
the so-called
Delta Fund,
could be rejected.
So the revenue measures are coming in the form of law.
And would this be at committee level or plenary level? So
at committee, a decision can be taken at committee to recommend to plenary to reject it.
What's the composition of the committee?
They vary.
For now, you are the deputy.
On my finance committee, we are 13-12.
And that's the most important committee for the budget.
Well, there are also committees of trade and industry where I belong. We are 10-10. If you go to committee of mines and energy, I think they are about 9-9.
Okay.
So most of the committees are even. Finance committee, because there's an odd number there, we are 25.
So when the estimate and the appropriation comes to committee, has your side decided whether to reject or to accept? Or it depends on what is inside?
It will be very biased to take a decision, because you would need to have the details.
Okay.
So in terms of principle, you may be against it, but in terms of detail, they may come with a COVID Act that makes certain changes beyond what the policy stated. And if you found something interesting in it that you think you can support it. But if you think that it should be rejected, you may reject it at committee. Then if the majority, the other side agrees that it should go through, then we'll have a majority decision. In other words, the committee is not together
in
recommending to the floor to accept this in whole.
But if you had rejected the policy, we wouldn't have moved to the second stage.
So if you reject the policy, the estimates can still come.
Okay.
The estimate can still come, but what it then means is that you are approving estimate to fund what? A non-existing policy.
I get it.
So then that makes it easier for you to say, on the basis of that, we have no business approving any of them.
Tell me why you voted against the policy. Why did you debate it? Give me the top 2-3 things wrong with this budget.
We had stated quite clearly what our positions were. And one of them was that we did not believe that under the challenges that Ghanaians were going through, we needed to impose additional burden on them.
Okay.
And so the revenue measures as stated as policy in the budget was not consistent with our view in terms of the way forward in addressing the concrete challenges of Ghanaians, particularly that across the globe, all the countries, we are yet to see a country that has introduced austerity measures instead of stimulus. And we were seeing a completely different program that we think cannot bring the economy out of the doldrums. And so we could not support additional burden on the people. You are aware that even workers' salaries have not been adjusted. And those same workers have been asked to pay more. I mean, they are unable to recover the losses that they sustained in 2020 as a result of inflation. We haven't been able to restore their 2020 parities. And we're asking them to contribute more in terms of regressive taxes. And we were not about to accept
But
that.
the 2020 budget that was passed in July was a stimulus budget. Caps, boats, and all those things. So the previous budget was doing exactly what you were saying. It was to put money into the system. It gave money to people. Is that not correct?
You see, we have very, very serious issues with the revisions to the budget and the entire suspension of the fiscal responsibility rules. If you suspend fiscal responsibility, then you have to be responsible in your expenditure activities. And you have to be responsible in your borrowing regime. As a result of the suspension and some of the things that we saw happen, the government basically losing the belt a little too far, but we cannot even tell the impact of that loosening of the belt on the ordinary Ghanaian. So monies were being thrown around, and yet majority of Ghanaians basically didn't feel anything about it. And we think that that is not the way to go.
So I don't get you. You're saying the 2021 budget is an austerity budget. It's not good.
Yeah.
The 2020 third quarter budget that was read, even though it was supposed to be a stimulus budget, as in helping people to cope with COVID, you still disagree with how it was done. So what are you looking for?
So in 2020, we approved 10 billion as an exemption to be borrowed from the Bank of Ghana. You know, the Bank of Ghana itself, per our relationship with the IMF, we're operating a zero financing arrangement. Now, even if we discarded a zero financing arrangement, the Bank of Ghana's own act gives it the mandate to lend up to 5% of the total revenue to government. Okay, and the total revenue as reported is about 55 billion. I mean, calculate 5% of that. So even the 10 billion that we approved to be borrowed from Bank of Ghana was far in excess of the 5% of the 55 billion. The government goes ahead to borrow 22 billion. We are unable to tell what the 22 billion was spent on. We have a situation where government borrowed 70 billion to finance the deficit. That is ridiculous. And yet, we cannot tell exactly what was delivered out of a borrowing of 70 billion. So in a total expenditure of 125 billion out of an approval of about 100 billion, 25 billion more than originally budgeted, can you tell what the money was used for? Stimulus doesn't mean you throw it on the streets. You put the money into the economy, and putting the money into the economy is to make sure that you spend it on value-driving activities. Where did we spend that money? You are an economist.
Well, I'm not yet one. I'm still learning the economics.
Well,
so let me just get you straight. You're saying the amount borrowed was not as bad as the fact that you don't know what it was used for.
Yeah.
But is that not mentioned in the various statements that accompanied the announcement of the COVID reliefs?
And that is
The
exactly
specific things that were mentioned from August, September, October, all the way through January, February. As, for example, there was CAPBOS 1, CAPBOS 2. The government spoke about specific things it was doing for businesses and all those things. Are you saying it doesn't add up, or that those things don't matter?
So if you pick, I think I gave you, there's an appendix in the budget. And that appendix basically talks about the various expenditures that were made in relation to COVID. And you find that in Appendix 12B. which talks about performance summary by funding sources.
Yes.
The matters you spoke about are the matters related to the contingency fund.
Appendix 12B, page 274.
Exactly. They are related to the items that we approve for the contingency fund. Okay.
The 1.2 billion cedis.
1.2 billion utilization.
Really?
Yes. But you will notice that beyond that, we utilize monies from the World Bank, the IPF, the Africa Development Bank to the tune of 532 million Ghana cedis. We utilize the $65 million from the Garrett, which amounted to about 343 million. We utilized the FACTRA COVID-19 facility of 35 million from the World Bank, which was meant to be used for the emergency preparedness and response plan, which was about 189 million. We utilized the FACTRA COVID-19 facility of 130 million from the World Bank. Okay, we utilized the IMF funding of about almost 5.6 billion Ghana cedis. We utilized the African Development Bank funding of about 389 million. I'm looking at the utilization column.
On the screen, that all of things you are adding, this is...
So you see the items there?
Yeah, so that amounts to 16.7 billion.
Yes. Beyond, no, so you see the Bank of Ghana COVID-19 bonds is about 10 billion. Okay? But if you go to the appendix that talks about our deficit, okay, that's appendix 2A. If you pick appendix 2A, you would find that Bank of Ghana actually lent to government 22 billion and not 10 billion as reported here. What did they use all that money for?
So appendix 2A, summary of central government operations 2020.
Yes, 205.
Yes.
Page 205.
You are financing 2020 provisional outturn 44 billion. The foreign was 31, and then give the breakdown: borrowing of 14.09, project loans of 6.042, program loans 398. Is that what you're talking about?
So let me show you something very funny with that. You mentioned that the foreign financing is about 31 million, okay?
Yes.
Okay.
31.2 something.
Good. Now, I want you to show me how you get 31 million from the figures I'm going to mention to you. You have project loans to the tune of 6 billion. You know you can't use project loans to amortize maturing debt. You know that. They must go into specific projects. Okay? Program loans. And they give you program loans of 398 million. All the matters are just listed, which you show on that screen. You showed earlier under appendix 12B, are program loans. Are program loans. And they work up to about 7.5 billion. If you take away the COVID, the contingency, you take away the Bank of Ghana funding. How come you have all these program loans and you are not listing just the allocation, you are listing utilization, meaning it has been spent?
Fair enough.
So how can you spend almost that figure and your program loans is 398
million? But the reason we are here is I asked you a question. You said we are running an austerity budget, and I said we ran stimulus budget in the previous era, and you say you have issue with the way the money was spent. Then we came to the point of how was the money allocated. Then you're saying the amounts allocated, as far as you are concerned, only 1.7 billion. But the government issued a statement yesterday. It's
not a statement. This is their budget.
I'm coming. Let me just read it for the purpose of the viewers. So, Ministry of Finance responds to a particular statement issued by Joy FM. But in that statement, they sort of explain what some of the things you're saying. The ministry informs the general public that these two publications are incorrect. This is a publication about Ghana spending only 1.7 billion on the COVID-19 pandemic, even though it says it spent 19 billion. The 1.7 billion reflects expenditure on only two items under COVID-19 related expenditures, namely COVID Alleviation Program 1 and Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan 2. Now, I'm coming to this because of the 12B you mentioned, which listed the program loans. Now, it says other COVID expenditure were COVID-19 Alleviation Program 2, CAP 2, COVID-19 Preparedness Plan 2, Provision of Health Infrastructure, Seed Fund for Capitalization of Development Bank, among others. And then it goes on to now give you where they got it from, which is exactly what you are mentioning. The amount of 16.8 billion referred to in Appendix 12B only provided information on sources of financing the fiscal gap resulting from the COVID pandemic. Then it mentions IMF, as you mentioned, AFDB, EU. So they're basically talking about what they use the money for.
So my question then is, if you fund the budget from program loans, they reflect in your program loans component of your foreign financing of the budget. So if this statement is admitting that program loans that was used to finance COVID is about 16 billion, why are they reporting 398 million
in the
Appendix
deficit 2A?
Exactly.
So there's this is an inconsistency between what they say.
Cooking the deficit. That is my point.
We haven't gotten there.
No, I have gotten there.
We are coming to that. I just want to get a point straight.
I have gotten there.
Because first you said that they had. Don't forget, you initially said that.
It is all part of the utilization I don't understand. Because they are not even accounting for it.
We are trying to help the public.
Yeah.
In Appendix 12B, they list the contingency fund, loans from World Bank, IMF, and everybody.
African Development Bank,
and then they also list
European Union,
Bank of Ghana. We take out contingency fund and Bank of Ghana from the 16. It's the 7.5.
Yeah.
And you're asking what they use it for, and I'm saying they mentioned it here. That they mentioned that they used it for CAP 2 plan, COVID alleviation program 2, COVID-19 preparedness plan 2, provision of health infrastructure, seed fund for capital development bank. That's what they mentioned here.
So, Bernard,
yes.
I sit in Parliament. You want me to approve your budget for 2021?
Yes.
And you are telling me how you use the money in 2020. It is not reflected in your document, and you say that I should go and look at a press statement you have issued to who? That press statement is not before Parliament.
I get
it's not before me. So what I know, you see, you are now responding. You see, it's like you want to do something, I catch you. Now you go to the press to go and respond to me. Meanwhile, I'm in Parliament. You get a point?
So let me get you straight.
And
You're saying that in Appendix 2A, which we scrolled earlier, the amount they put under program loans is 398
million.
Meanwhile,
his own statement is saying it is about 16 billion. So how can you now have 16 billion program loans, but you choose to report in your deficit 398?
It's actually not 16 billion.
It's about how much?
You take out the BOG 10 and you take out the contingency fund. So it's
I'm willing to accept any figure.
No, let's be clarity. The total amount on Appendix 12B is 16.7. If you take out 10 and the 1.2,
you're almost 7.
Yes, so that's the 7 you are talking about. Yes, so it's not 16.
So how come your own document, you are showing me that, okay, but you are reporting 398, and as a result of that, you are strangely getting your foreign financing of the deficit at 31 million Ghana cedis.
Could it be based on when the money was spent?
It doesn't matter. It's utilization for 2020 budget.
Yeah, but
he refers to it as utilization.
So so once they've spent it, it should be here.
It should be in the deficit.
So that's your first problem with the budget.
That's my first problem.
Second problem. So initially you said this is an austerity budget. You still not explained that.
I've come to that. I'm talking about utilization now.
Yes, you've explained that point.
So you are comfortable with
So you're saying, yes, I'm sure there's a question to be answered. Why on this document we have 398, whereas when you take the program loans, it's 7.2?
Yes.
That's a fair question
to ask. So you are
ask.
cooking the deficit for me.
No, but that's a conclusion I can't accept. I don't know. That's your own conclusion.
I have concluded.
No problem.
And they cannot debate me on that.
No problem.
Yesterday, I was 2 days ago, I was at Oak Plaza with them, and I asked them the same question. They said we should defer it to when they bring the fiscal.
Okay.
So you can understand what they are now trying to cure. What you are trying to cure, it doesn't belong to the press conference. Come to Parliament, to the Committee on Finance, and come and speak this English.
Fair enough. Why is this an austerity budget? I want to understand that.
Budget because the very people who are impoverished by COVID, who are sitting home and are yet to even find their feet to go back to work, you're asking them to pay more. Okay? And I'm saying that even the measures you are using are the measures that are taking more from the poor than the rich. If I have 10 cedis, and if my income is 100 Ghana, and I go to buy something and you are taxing me 2 cedis, somebody who has 1 million buys the same thing and you tax him 2 cedis, who is paying more?
So it's retrogressive taxing.
It's retrogressive. My mother who sits in the village and is living her organic life in the forest is not polluting the forest. You and I are in the city polluting the forest. And you are saying that when that poor woman manages to harvest some onions and okra and goes to the market to buy a tin of milk, He must pay taxes so you can come and clean the cities.
So you are criticizing the revenue measures.
Yes.
But what if they say to you that we gave 4 major tax reliefs? They suspended income tax stamp payments. When you went on Parliament, in fact, what's his name? Kweku, what's his name? The Finance Committee chairman made this point. They suspended vehicle income tax. This is for truck and taxi drivers. The income tax stamp payments is for small businesses. There was something they call 30% of corporate income tax for hospitality industry. And then there was the waiver of the penalty on the interest on accumulated tax. They argue that helps to buffer the poor.
So is that the reason why the polluter of the environment must get somebody else to pay for his pollution? Is that what you're saying?
You are making reference to the sanitation and pollution
Exactly.
levy. 10 pesos per litre.
Why do you want somebody else who is not polluting the environment to pay for somebody who is polluting the environment?
So are you saying that the reliefs are not enough? Because
They just aren't properly targeted. And as a result
the tax
of that,
or the relief?
for the relief, you see, if you tell me that everybody now that has the Ghana card automatically has a PIN,
A TIN number.
a TIN number,
Yeah.
are you exempted from filing your taxes at the end of the year? Because you drive a taxi? Is that the policy you are seeing? So he's only suspending the presumptive tax, but when you come to file because you own a TIN and you are a taxpayer, you would pay.
But the purpose of this, I may be wrong, but I thought because the fuel price is going to go up by at least 30 pesos because of the 2 new taxes, the suspension of the vehicle income tax reduces the cost the truck or taxi driver incurs, so that the temptation to raise the transport fare for the person taking a Trotsky, based on this relief, there's also some buffer there.
So now that I have been roped in by a new TIN arrangement, whatever gains I am going to make will reflect on my profit and my revenue.
Eventually. But not immediately.
Eventually. So when I file, I'll pay. So nobody has been exempted any.
But shouldn't you be happy with that? From a tax policy perspective, that you have 3 million people who have TIN numbers. By transferring their NIA into TIN, you have 17 million. That's a direct way of taxing people. You've already told me that the indirect tax of the 4 taxes we mentioned, COVID relief, sanitation, are progressive because they are indirect. Isn't it better to prepare for a direct tax then? Because that's better tax.
Now today in this studio, we are agreeing that no tax has been exempted nobody has been exempted from taxes. Do you agree?
Which one?
That the taxi driver or the truck driver has not been exempted from taxes.
Based on what?
Based on the fact that you have to file his taxes as somebody owning a TIN.
But is that immediate?
It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he will pay.
But talking about relief.
But you see, when you talk about it as if you are now free from a tax, that is the impression being created by government communication. And I'm saying that is a deception. Tell them the truth, that you are no longer going to pay upfront, but you have been asked to pay later.
But we don't know how much people who have. But I don't go. Aren't you overextending? The fact that 17 million people have TIN numbers doesn't necessarily mean that there's a specific tax they'll be asked to pay.
Income taxes are based on your TIN number, and everybody with a TIN number is mandated by law to file your returns. That has not been exempted.
So whether they give them the VIT exemption or suspension or not, you're saying the fact that they've been registered with TIN numbers
They
means
will
they'll pay.
file their taxes. And if
but an income tax is a direct tax based on income. Is that not better
There
than?
are 2 different
I'm coming. No, you are saying that the tax is retrogressive, and we agree that from tax theory, the indirect taxes are retrogressive because everybody pays irrespective of how much they earn. So if a government comes and says, "I'm going to give everybody a TIN number," if you earn 2 cedis, you pay a percent of the 2 cedis. If I earn 20 cedis, I pay a percent of the 20 cedis. Isn't that better than everybody just paying the same amount?
So we are having 2 conversations.
It's the same conversation.
No, the first one was that I was looking at the tax measures in relation to indirect taxes. Okay?
Yes.
And I said that is retrogressive. We've closed that. You are now coming to direct taxes and the deception that people are not going to pay taxes because they drive taxis and trot. And I'm saying that is a deception. You are now moving to a second conversation that says that is better than the regressive taxes. But they have not scrapped the regressive taxes because they have introduced 10 numbers. So they are not substituting one for the other. If they were scrapping the regressive taxes in response to my complaint, and now introducing 17 million tin numbers, and I'm still complaining, then you say, isn't that better?
I get your point. So
But
if
they
they
have not scrapped the. In fact, the same person who is paying the direct tax is also paying the regressive tax.
But you are already complaining that the economy is not in a good shape. So on one hand, the government has to sort of find a way of keeping the economy running. Maybe we'll deal with that when we come back. It's an interesting thought. The fact that you think the taxes are retrogressive, but trying to bring direct taxes doesn't necessarily solve the consumer's problem for the immediate run. This is the point of view. Our guest is Honorable Isaac Adongo, who's really not happy with the budget. They argued vehemently against this passage, lost narrowly by only 3 votes. They are now discussing the estimates and appropriation, and he has some very serious issues. We'll come back and listen to more of his points. Stay with us.
Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going. Available in major supermarkets and shops near you. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
It is another beautiful day in the lovely city of Accra. And just as expected, everyone is up to something. Busy day as usual.
Papa, so Kuma has also left us.
Oh, others are getting ready for school.
Guys, we are late. Hurry up. We're coming.
And in the busy streets of Accra, the mates are calling out to passengers. Whatever you have planned for today, don't leave home without your nose mask. Wearing a mask at all times will protect you from the coronavirus. And even after vaccination, continue to wear a mask and follow all existing protocols. Ghana needs you. Let's do the right thing. Wear your mask.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Information, the Ghana Health Service, and our donor partners.
Because you pay attention. Because you know more than one angle. And see more than one opportunity. We bring you Build a Bet. Multiple legs as a single bet on one game. Raising the odds. And elevating your experience.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years.
This looks different.
It is. See for yourself.
Okay, so it's a photo.
Look closer. Photos within photos.
What about video?
8K video. Beyond cinema quality.
So,
You can pull portrait quality photos straight from video.
but will it last the whole trip?
Battery for the whole trip and the way back.
This is different.
Told you.
Welcome back to the point of view. We're still in budget. Don't forget, on 12 March, budget was read by Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. They debated it and passed it narrowly. Now they're going through the details of the estimates and the appropriations. And the deputy chair, ranking member of the Finance Committee, Honorable Isaac Adongo, MP for Bogatanga Central, is in the studio. He is not happy with the budget. He says it's an austerity budget. He says the taxes are retrogressive. And let's remind you, there are 4 taxes, or 5 more, or 5 taxes. 1% VAT flat rate scheme, 1% national insurance levy. This is the COVID health levy. Then there's a sanitation and pollution levy, 10 pesos per litre. They list what it will be used for. There's also the financial sector cleanup levy, 5% on profit before tax for banks. And then there's a couple of others. He says this is retrogressive. Now, what else is your problem with this budget?
Several.
Okay.
So, beyond the tax measures, we see a deliberate attempt to hide the true state of the Ghanaian economy, particularly in respect of our public debts.
Okay.
And only a few days ago, the Economic Intelligence Unit issued a report, a very damning report on Ghana. As a matter of fact, I'm not interested in the political predictions. What I'm interested in is the structure and the risk of the economy. And they say that from 2018, Ghana has failed to pay a number of its maturing obligations to our official creditors. That is damning. In other words, Ghana has not been able to pay its creditors. I've never heard this before, but it is happening under the good managers of the economy. Now, I realize also that even the public debt is not properly captured, and that there are attempts to understate the public debt. And here I want to refer you to the Bank of Ghana's summary economic and financial data, which it released in November 2020 to report on Ghana's macroeconomic and monetary policies. And under the public debt, it reports that our domestic debt at the time was 111.3 billion. Now, look under owing to financial sector resolution bond. Have you seen that?
Which document are you referring to?
That is the summary economic and financial data for November 2020 issued by the Bank of Ghana.
Okay, I don't have that.
And I'm looking at the government fiscal operations cumulative.
Okay, I have that.
Okay, so under domestic debt, you see 111.3 billion as at March 2020.
Okay.
Okay.
Is the quarters listed? Go ahead.
Then it says that out of this figure, owing to financial sector resolution bond is 1.8 billion Ghana cedis. Bernard, did we spend 1.8 billion to resolve the banking sector?
I did.
22 billion.
It depends on what time you are referring to.
March 2020. From March 2020 to today, we haven't issued any new bond.
So 20 billion.
20 billion. And the minister, the governor of the central bank is saying that in this domestic public debt, only 1.8 billion is added as our financial sector resolution bonds. So what has happened to the almost about 2 point something billion? About 20 billion. Where is it? So you see that the 1.3 has been cooked by almost 20 billion Ghana cedis by the governor of the central bank.
So I just want to understand something. I'm on domestic debt.
Yes.
Percentage of financial sector resolution bond.
No, not percentage. Owing.
Yes.
Owing to financial
and which quarter are you looking at?
I am looking at March 2020.
So
the last item.
So 2020 March.
You see 1.8 billion.
Maybe I have a wrong.
No, I'm talking about what do you call it? This was issued in November 2020.
What I have is 19 March 2021 summary of macroeconomic and financial data.
I'm talking about November 2020 reporting on the public debt in March.
I don't have that document.
And the governor of the central bank, Dr. Addison, cooks our public debt, particularly our domestic public debt, by 20 billion. And this is not my document. This is Dr. Addison's document.
I don't have that. I wish I could see that.
I'll give it to you. No, you can look at it. You will see 1.8 billion.
But how did we get here? We are talking about the budget. So why are you
Because in the budget, the public debt is consistently cooked between the Ministry of Finance and the government. See, what the governor does is to take the lead. Have you ever seen the Bank of Ghana disagree with
But if you say the debt is cooked, I'll be surprised because there are regular debt sustainability reports, IMF issues.
Sustainability reports.
If your debt position is misstated, obviously the people you owe know how much you owe. And also, when the IMF do their regular country updates, they will update it. So I don't know how you can lie about your debt. Is that a public?
So am I the one who
I'm trying to understand the point you're making.
Have you seen the 1.8 billion?
Yes, I'm looking for it.
No,
I just need the document.
So try and see it. It's down there. Domestic debt. Owing to financial sector resolution bond.
2003.
Yes.
111.3.
And say owing to financial sector
1.8.
1.8 billion.
Yes.
Did we spend 1.8 billion to resolve the banking sector?
Okay.
So where is he keeping the additional 20 billion? That it is not reflected in this public debt. I will show you another one which he just issued about 3 days ago. Okay.
I think that's the one I have.
That's the one you have. Yeah. Look at domestic debt.
Yeah.
It's 149.8
exactly,
billion.
Percentage of GDP.
And he say owing to financial sector resolution
15.3.
15. Did we spend 15.3?
So
almost 6 billion.
But let me ask you a question. If you listen,
let me make my
let me ask you a question. If you look at the way the financial sector resolution is being done, when they say they've spent 20 billion, does that mean that they've actually paid all of that, or they've put that aside for it?
They paid. Let me tell you, in Parliament, on the Finance Committee, has approved about 21 billion, which have been spent. Yes, the minister in his own report indicates that he spent the money in the budget.
So it's not like
in the budget they are reporting 22 billion. But Governor Addison, the master tactician in cooking data, is reporting 15.3. So where is the over 6 billion of our public debt?
Okay.
So you see that, I'm coming here? Because the figure of our public debt at the end of December reported at 291.6 billion, which is also repeated by the minister in the budget, is consistent with this cooking he has done with 15.3 instead of 22. So you see why he takes
have you asked the finance ministry in the committee level why this approach is used? Because you've already said that the two have the same number, 291. Yes. So if the monetary side and the fiscal side have agreed, how does that then become cooking? And now, if you have both the monetary and the fiscal reporting the same figure,
if people are colluding and abetting,
where's the evidence of that?
The evidence is here.
No, you are pointing to what you consider to be an inaccuracy or discrepancy.
It's not me concluding.
But that's not the same as
listen to me.
No, I'm coming.
If you report
evidence of collusion, means that they've decided to do something.
So how come
you are asking me questions which I think are legitimate questions?
Bernard,
but the conclusion you are making is very interesting. Please do.
Do you know that the Bank of Ghana has a narrow view of our public debt? When I say the narrow view of our public debt, it is only debts that go through the Bank of Ghana is aware. Okay? But public debt, such as the one we took that is sitting at Get Fund of about $1.5 billion, Bank of Ghana doesn't know. So how come the Minister of Finance that has the broader view, which includes this 1.5, always agrees with the narrow view?
But we don't know. I'm not here to ask
I'm not asking you to agree with me. Okay. But you see, you have data. And the data is saying that I have included only 15.3 billion of our loans to resolve the public sector financial in our public
as at December 2012.
Yes.
2020.
And the minister reports the same figure. Fortunately, I now have somebody that I can use his figure to cross-check, and I'm seeing almost 6 billion cannot be accounted for. And you are saying it is what?
So by your calculation, how much should the debt be?
It's almost 299 billion.
Not 291.
No, 200. Our debt to GDP is about 78%. And let me explain to you another thing. You know, there is another table in their own report. There is an appendix on.
This is Finance Ministry.
Yes, Finance Ministry. It's on page 249 and 250. Let's go to 249 and 250.
Interesting. What is the information there?
The information there is that 249 and 250 provide an appendix on all new financial commitments that the government borrowed in that year. All the loans that it went to take.
Yeah.
Okay? Some have been disbursed. They have to reflect in our public debt. Some have not been disbursed. They don't reflect in our public debt. Are you getting it? So Appendix 10B, new commitment in 2020. Conspicuously missing in that list in page 249 and page 250 are the financial commitments that we borrowed under the COVID that are referred to in Appendix 12B. Have you seen any IMF borrowing there in that document?
You are talking about the program loans.
Yes. Have you seen the IMF money reflected in the appendix?
There are about 62 items here. So
you won't find the IMF money.
You may have to go through that.
But you see,
take
your time and go through. You see, the Eurobonds were issued and spent. It is there. All the 3 Eurobonds amounting to about 3 billion is there. Okay. Somebody will say that once there are new commitments, they cannot go into a public. I'm looking at new commitments that were spent, drawn down, just like we have drawn down the Eurobond money, which is reported in the last page, is reflected in the public debt. Okay, the monies we borrowed to the tune of over 7.5 billion for program loans was not only omitted from our deficit schedule, it was also omitted from any loans we borrowed.
I remember when you raised this point in Parliament, your committee chairman said you are confusing what has been estimated from what has been disbursed.
No, he said I was confusing what has been committed to what.
Committed to what and drawn down. Yes.
And I'm saying
that it was.
I am saying that the matters I'm referring to, in fact, they classify them as utilization. What is utilization? Drawdown. You see, they classify them as utilization.
What page is this?
The very page you looked at first, 274.
So
they describe them as utilization. So they've been drawn down. So he was rather confused. So 7.5 billion, okay, from our program loans suddenly disappear from our public debt. Then another 6 billion is also shaved off from our financial sector cleanup. You are talking in excess of 305 billion public debt, with your debt to GDP in the region of 80%. What kind of people are these?
But you said, when I asked you whether you would approve the appropriation, you said it really depends. If this is
these are the issues.
Yeah, but question, if this is as serious as it is, then there should be no question that you reject it.
You see?
But you are saying that it's even possible you accept it.
No.
If this is true.
Appropriation will not be incorporating historical numbers.
Yeah, but
appropriation is about going forward. Yeah, and I'm saying that.
But obviously, if you feel that somebody has misreported.
That's why I'm saying that.
If somebody has misreported where we are, as you claim, can you then go forward to approve what they want to use the rest of the money for?
That is why I am saying that we had an opportunity to be at Oak Plaza over the weekend to consider the Ministry of Finance and its agency's budget.
And when
I raised this as the Ministry of Finance being a macro-fiscal entity.
And what did they say?
The chief director told me that I should hold on. He came and told me.
Was the deputy minister, was the minister nominee there? Was president nominee there? Was, for example,
our chairman is Koku Kwati.
And what was his response?
They said that I should wait. When they are bringing the fiscals for approval, they will explain.
So we wait.
So I should fight them.
And when is that?
Should I?
No,
should I wear my gloves?
When is that?
So we are waiting.
When is this?
They will come to us. We won't go to them.
But we are told this is the.
They haven't come. Yeah, but so they will come to us.
I just want to understand the timetable.
I am saying that.
When are you? Where are you in the timetable?
We must exit this process by 31st. So anytime they are ready to come.
And today is 22nd.
And we will confront them.
So in less than a week.
These are financial engineers. I expect the media to be very disgusted at what I'm pointing out. But it appears that we are treating these guys with kid gloves.
We'll take a break and come back.
I feel very disappointed.
To understand more about the concerns of the deputy ranking member of the Finance Committee, the Honorable Adongo. He says there are too many inconsistencies in the budget and this is not correct. We'll take some more issues when we come back. Stay with us.
Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going. Available in major supermarkets and shops near you. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
You've done the hard work, the analysis, the selection. It's all going according to plan. Until City miss a sitter. And you miss your multi-bet by one. Miss your multi-bet by one, and we will return up to 20 times your stake. We've got your back, even when City don't.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years.
It is another beautiful day in the lovely city of Accra. And just as expected, everyone is up to something. Busy day as usual.
Papa, so Kuma has also left us.
Oh, others are getting ready for school.
Guys, we are late. Hurry up. We're coming.
And in the busy streets of Accra, the mates are calling out to passengers. Whatever you have planned for today, don't leave home without your nose mask. Wearing a mask at all times will protect you from the coronavirus. And even after vaccination, continue to wear a mask and follow all existing protocols. Ghana needs you. Let's do the right thing. Wear your mask.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Information, the Ghana Health Service, and our donor partners.
Bonsoir, monsieur. Madame. Et voilà.
Babe, what is this?
This is the escargot. The foie gras. Oui.
Where did she go?
You pa one kasa who say obase your perfidian.
It's been long since you ever felt like this.
Welcome to the best in Ghanaian entertainment on Akwaba Magic. Efie. Welcome home to Akwaba Magic on DSTV channel 150. It's your moment. DSTV.
Welcome back to The Point of View. We're talking to Honorable Isaac Adongo. He's the Deputy Ranking Member on the Finance Committee, MP for Bolgatanga Central. I remember you made a lot of noise about this issue before, not this specific one. I remember there was even a time you said some stuff about the different numbers being reported by government. I called up the IMF. The IMF guy said that wasn't correct. Remember, Dr. Tuna Mama. And then there was another time where a claim was made that we had gone back to HIPIC. Again, IMF came back to say this wasn't correct. So I'm just trying to understand, is this not similar? Because you've made this point before about inconsistencies in numbers. You even said that there were two different figures we gave to the IMF from what we had ourselves. And then they said they had done it above the line and below the line, which is not necessarily wrong. You remember this period? This was last year.
Chief.
I'm asking you a question.
Chief.
What's your response?
Chief, what the IMF director did was shameful. He was dabbling in internal political arguments. And don't forget that the IMF is a quasi-diplomatic institution that doesn't say it as it is. Okay? So if you want the IMF to make a public statement, just read their documents and make meaning out of their documents. You don't expect the IMF to come and say that they agree that we have cooked data. Look, I want you to read the document that has just been released by the how do they call those people? The Economic Intelligence Units.
I don't have that document.
It's here. I can give it to you. The whole document is here.
What did they say about Ghana?
For most of the economic indicator measures, they give you the indicator of Ghana, and they give you the median performance of a HIPIC country. And in most of them, the HIPIC countries are doing better than Ghana. In other words, Ghana is now even worse than HIPIC countries. Is it Economic Intelligence Unit?
EIU that determines our debt?
They are only assembling data. And the data they have assembled They show you Ghana's performance on the indicators. They show you the median performance of HIPC countries. And the HIPC countries are doing better than Bawumia's Ghana. And you are saying what?
So you are going back to this claim that Ghana
I am not the one going back to claim. Ghana is in trouble.
But you see,
that even if we were HIPC, in most of the indicators, would have been better to be HIPC. But that even the HIPC countries are better than us.
Ghana is a lower middle income country, so Ghana cannot be HIPC.
And if you are a lower middle income
country, you can't
country,
be HIPC.
and the HIPC country
highly indebted poor. And so they are low income poor.
Forget
countries.
about this.
No, but that's the point. So Ghana cannot be HIPC.
I'm saying that you can
maybe HIMIC.
You can do this the gimmick, but the important thing is that if that highly indebted poor country has a better economic performance indicators than the highly indebted middle income country, wouldn't I prefer to be with the poor? I mean, this is the economy we have. And look, there's too many political and policy deceptions under this government. This government tells you that this is the second year of rules. Did you hear that one? You know the budget for the second year of rules? Huh? 952 million. Okay, look at Appendix 6, if you have it. I can show you the Appendix 6. And the Appendix 6, you find it under page 241.
And what's the problem with that? You don't see the expenditure on roads.
Look, you are doing year of roads, 952 million. So if we were not doing year of roads, what would we be doing? And yet, the monies we are collecting from tolls is 1.9 billion. So where is the money going that you are not spending it on roads?
But does government flagship program have to mean all government infrastructure on roads? Because do you know that government flagship programs are drawn out of their manifesto? So you can also have ongoing programs.
These figures are picked from the appendices in the budget.
No, I know. I'm saying that if the fact that somebody says my government flagship program will take 952 million does not mean that that's the total population
that is
expenditure on roads.
That is the total on roads. Unless somebody in government can point me to a different figure.
But see, if somebody is spending X amount on, planting for food and jobs, or one factory, one whatever, one district, one factory. There are other things happening in the ministry outside one district, one factory. So you cannot construe one district, one factory to be expenditure in the industry sector. That's the same thing you are doing here.
No,
because there are different things. For example, there's so-called the China Sino-Hydro deal. Will that be under a flagship program?
Bernard,
I'm asking you a question.
No, I'm also going to answer you. That's why I'm calling your name first, so that you pay attention to what I'm going to say. In doing your budget, you are asking me to appropriate funds.
Yes.
And you are showing me the sources from which you are going to raise the money to fund it. Mm-hmm. And you arrive at 952 million. Unless you are going to tell me that when you come to me to tell me what you are going to spend on, you omit some of them to be...
No, but I'm saying that the things listed here are government flagship. For example, you have free SHS, 1.9 billion. You can't say that means that education is 1.9 billion. It's the same thing you are doing. No. You are saying under government flagship program, there's road infrastructure 952. No. That means that everything on road. These are programs.
Bernard,
this is not the total sector.
Bernard, will you listen to me? No, we are going to approve 952 for infrastructure for roads.
Under
so you cannot spend more than... No. We are going to spend that in the government's own estimates under the Ministry of Roads. They are submitting infrastructure on roads to the tune of 952 million.
Okay.
And they can only spend 952 million out of appropriation. So if they have any hudious expenditure on roads, they better say it now or forever.
So your argument is that the amount they are raising from road tolls
is about 1.9 billion.
But did they state that the road toll would all be used for road infrastructure?
What else are they going to use it for? To build mortar?
You should ask
to build houses. What is my understanding of road tolls? To be used to build houses.
Because there's also routine maintenance that you can use road toll for.
Road.
So is that also under the road infrastructure program?
Yes, of course. All of that. Look, you have 1.973 billion. Almost 1 billion of your revenues coming from internal sources on roads are not going to roads. Where are they going? Look, you tell me again that you are going to raise 311 million from your pollution and sanitation tax. Okay? But you are spending only 76 million of GOG funding on sanitation. Where is the money going?
But they listed what they will use that money for.
It's not about listing. I'm saying that if you list everything, it won't go beyond 76 million you have reported. So if
they said it will improve urban air quality, combat air pollution. That may not necessarily be under sanitation. Revamp, reconstruct poorly managed landfill facilities, construct. Which is why I'm asking you that. If you are saying that under Appendix 6, which you are showing me, everything here is the total amount that they are spending on those sectors, then that question has to be answered.
Free SHS is different from the budget for education.
That's the point I was making to you.
But under infrastructure for roads, that is what it is. In fact, you are not going to use your compensation budget under the road sector.
Can we not construe this to be year of roads program?
Which one?
Because
it's second year of roads.
Yeah, so you're saying free SHS is not the same as education budget. No. So why is road infrastructure and the flagship program the same as road budget?
You see, education budget is bigger than free SHS. Free SHS is just a subset of the education budget. In fact, it is not even up to 30% of the education budget. In the case of roads, if you are talking about the year of roads, I am not interested in your compensation budget under the ministry.
Okay.
I am not interested in your goods and services budget under the ministry. I am interested in what you want to spend to do concrete roads. And what you want to spend to do concrete roads is 950 something million. In dollar terms, we are talking peanuts. And I am saying that if they have any other figure somewhere, they should say it now, or after appropriation, they should forget it. And I'm saying if we were not doing the second year of roads, what else would we have been doing now that we are doing 958? And I'm also saying that the 76 million I pointed out to you for sanitation, the total budget, as you find in this document, is about 90 million. Why am I not mentioning 90 million? Because 14 million of that is funded from ABFA, annual budget funding amount from oil. So the taxes they are collecting, which is GOG, is only funding 76 million out of 311 million.
So this is a 311 million for the whole year?
Yes. And yet you are spending only 76 million. So are you really committed to fighting sanitation? Are you not using sanitation to deceive the people to take money from the poor?
So you think that things like medical waste treatment facilities and things that they will use that levy for should all come under the water and sanitation?
You see, if there is a private sector initiative, which I'm aware of, don't use that as an excuse to fleet your people. We know that the 311 million is not going to sanitation. So why overburden? That is the reason I said that it's austerity. It is taking too much regressive taxes from the poor. If you need only 76 million to fund sanitation, why are you taking 311 million?
How come your 3 members didn't vote? People are asking that question. We have 137. You had only 134 come up. What happened? Because if they had all turned up, then you would have had a
Honorable Kodo for the whole week wasn't in Parliament because he was burying the mother.
So he wasn't in Parliament with permission?
He was burying the mother. Everybody is aware of that. Honorable Mills was also burying the sister the same day we were taking the vote.
Fifi Mills or something? Samuel Mills
was burying the sister the same day we were taking the vote.
So he couldn't be in Parliament?
So they couldn't be there. The last one, Honorable Tewia, has been bedridden for
he's not well.
Almost 2 months.
I see.
So these 3 could be accounted for. And it was going to be...
So you were positive if they were there, all 137 would have voted against the budget?
You're asking me to move into the era of conjecture. I cannot.
No, because I was just asking, if you are sure the budget is not good. Because don't forget, there was a whole complaint about approving of the minister. So I'm just trying to understand the consistency.
If 134 voted that were there, all voted against, how could you assume that the other 3 would vote?
No, it's just a question I'm asking you.
Yeah. So I believe strongly that we would have voted to have a very difficulty in having a decision.
So there's a lot of things happening in Parliament this week. As he said, by 30th, they would have to have had a decision on the estimates and the appropriation. We'll be covering that as well for you on our programs. Thank you for talking to us one more time. Honorable Isaac Adungo, the proponent of Adungonomics.
And thank you very much for having me on this program. But then tell Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, now we can't pay our debts. He said that we shouldn't even borrow. Now he's borrowed to the point he can't even pay. And that is a
I'm sure he will respond to you soon.
You cannot respond.
He was at your funeral.
My mother's funeral.
And thank you.
I'm very grateful.
Thank you for watching. My name is Bradavles. Stay with CCTV. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Point of View is sponsored by First National Bank. First National Bank. How can we help you?